Now, as you'll all know, if you've watched this channel before, my favourite TV show of all time is always going to be Doctor Who. There will never be a show that manages to beat it. So when an episode of the show becomes an episode that I just always love and always rewatch, I find that so impressive, you know, to be the favourite episode of my favourite TV show. I mean, that's gotta be cool. So today, I'm going to talk about 5 episodes that I consider to be my personal favourites of the show. Now, these episodes aren't going to be in any order, anything like that. I just wanted to talk about them. So, let's talk about the best episodes of my favourite show. For my first pick, we have Dalek. Now, I know there are some people who have, in more recent years, found this episode overrated. I do not see that. I come at this from a perspective where I found a lot of Dalek episodes in the modern era very standard, very generic. This episode is one of those modern Who episodes that puts the fear in the Dalek. It's just this brilliant idea of having one Dalek and showing how fearful, how powerful it is. I think that's one of the most important elements of the Daleks. I think there is no point in doing the Daleks if you're not going to give them the fear factor they deserve. Also, I have to admit this is one of my favourite Ninth Doctor episodes, and having had so little of him, that's important to me. There are other episodes, such as The Doctor Dances, that show some great elements of Eccleston and his performance, but Dalek just shows that real post-Time War rage. It's such an important episode, especially when linking the classic and the modern series. He gives a great performance, and it's so important for his Doctor. It's just incredible. Now, Midnight is one of those episodes that is probably going to be on everyone's list like this, but I've got to include it. I think the strength of this episode is obviously, it's just in one location that entire time. And no, it doesn't come across like they're just saving budget. It just feels like this intense nuss that's just fantastic. Well, I can't explain myself, so I say intense nuss. It's great, it's great. I think its strength is putting the Doctor in a situation where he's just enclosed, he can't get out, and he's just dealing with people that don't understand the situation. And I think that's its strength, its enclosedness, and the way it puts the Doctor in the middle of that. Having these characters that just don't understand, but everyone is just so stressed in this tiny scenario that no one knows what to do. And it's this power dynamic, and it's the look of that power dynamic. And it's also the idea of a villain that you can't see. And again, this episode's strength, all of these things, the one location, the villain you can't see, it almost seems like it's trying to save some budget. And that's what I find so impressive, that it seems like this complete budget episode, but you're not thinking that at all. It manages to create this engrossing drama that is so intense, that feels like it should never feel like Who, whilst feeling completely like Who. I did butcher that a little bit. Incompletely like Who. I smashed it. I smashed it. Now, I want to talk about Stolen Earth Journey's End. You know, the type of, 2-part finales, that sort of thing. It doesn't really get talked about that much in terms of people's favourite episodes. But not only do I disagree with that, I love those types of epic stories, but also I've got to kind of base this on the ones I rewatch the most, and I've got to admit, if I was honest, Stolen Earth Journey's End is probably the 2-parter, or just episode in general, that I watch the most. Yes, I'm doing the Council of Geeks thing where I count 2 parts as one story. I will always refer to this story as Avengers Endgame before Avengers Endgame, or Infinity War. Infinity War is probably the better comparison. And that's what Russel did, and that's what I'm so excited for Russel to come back, because he built his own Doctor Who cinematic universe, which is the coolest thing to look back on, and then brought them all together in this episode that, no, it has its little flaws here and there, and I could do little nitpicks, but in terms of just pure epicness and characters and fun and Docky Whoiness, it's gotta be one of my favourites. It's just epic and fun, and I love it. Now, my next pick is going to be Rosa. Now, there'll be some Chibnall controversy here, I'm not really that arsed. But Rosa I think is my favourite episode from the Chris Chibnall era. Does it have the most fantastical, sci-fi, really big Doctor Who elements? Not really. But it's just a show that manages to have these important themes and this important historical character that means a lot to so many people, and it manages to create this entertaining yet informative yet heartfelt story that you just can't stop getting invested in. Sometimes I will genuinely criticise an episode if it relies too much on its ending, but the ending here, it's just magnificent. It's Graham's reactions, and it just hurts every time you watch it. It just feels so emotional. It's directed fantastically, written fantastically, and it's one of those episodes that I just can't stop rewatching. I'd also like to talk about the Pandorica opens and the Big Bang. Now, there are plenty of Series 5 episodes I could have chosen, but this one, I think it's special for me for its own reasons. I think Russel tried 4 times to do a good series arc, and while I don't think any of them are particularly bad, I think this was the first time that a series arc fully satisfied itself in a brilliant way. I think the Pandorica Open is just a fantastic episode from start to finish, lots of cool sci-fi moments, lots of fun characters, and a brilliant mystery. And some people do criticise the ending of The Big Bang and a lot of that stuff. I think it's Moffat at his best, doing a lot of the cool fantasy elements with just a lot of time travel, shenanigans, and you don't watch Doctor Who for it to, be a little bit... You don't watch it for it to be all clever. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck, and it's one that I can definitely get behind and really, really enjoy. Trust me though, there are a lot of Series 5 episodes I could have chosen for this list. I also would like to give a quick shout out to the 50th. Now, I might talk about this a little bit more if I do a part 2 to this, which I'm quite tempted to do. But I've talked about a couple of my more, big finale nostalgia picks, so I'm not going to try and repeat myself too much here. But also in terms of rewatchability, in terms of epicness, in terms of coolness, in terms of big Doctor Who madness, the 50th was incredible. Maybe doesn't make my top 5, but if I do a part 2, I'll talk about it more. So drop me a like and I'll do a part 2. I'm sounding like a class YouTuber. So another one of my favourite...
Forget about that. Right, here's a question. Are you subscribed to Mediocre at Best, the best podcast in the world? If you're not, I think less of you is a human. Basically, a waffle podcast with me and him. Go and subscribe. It'll be linked everywhere, I'm sure of it. Cheers. And subscribe to me while I'm here.
It's on the end screen, right there. Woo! And me. Yeah, I'll put you on the end screen.
Yeah, I got it.
You attention whore.